right, welcome everybody to today's training video and class. Thank you for being here. Ricky Garcia, and I are going to host this for you guys. We'll do this class in tandem. We're going to go over the four models or the fundamental principles of the MREA. Ricky, you now have some hosting powers. Want to get started? Tell everybody a little bit about it. I think that just in a couple sentences or less, what got you into real estate? Who are you? Why are you here?
Great, yeah. So I got into real estate a little under 2 years ago now. I've been studying to get into real estate since I was 18. Reason being, my mother got in about going on 8 years ago now. And you know, she was doing it because, you know, she had this dream about like really why anyone gets into real estate, you know, getting to a place of financial freedom and that sort of stuff. And so a bit of a family business. So I hopped on board after like failing my real estate exam like 6 or 7 times over years. Like I said, I was studying from 18 and didn't get my license till 22. But yeah, so I've been with KW the entire time. I love the coaching program. I love everyone, you know, here and the camaraderie we have, and everyone's trying to learn and everyone helps out. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Lots of you guys probably already know me, but today is about these 4 fundamental models of a MREA, or a millionaire real estate agent. And for everyone that's read MREA, you're probably familiar with these 4. And today we're just going to kind of retouch on them to get the juices flowing, just to kind of get us rethinking about it. Funnily enough, this all came out of my team. We decided we had to do an assignment, you know, so my mother, myself, my wife, and we're like, we have to write out what these 4 models mean and how to implement them. And so after doing that, I presented it to Bruce, and he said, you know, we're going to be going over this anyways. So through the process of reading through them again for like the 3rd or 4th time now, I'm still picking out things that I'm like, oh man, yeah, I totally forgot about that. I really got to start doing that some more. So I'm by no means a master at any of these. I'm simply someone that's trying to understand them a little better, like Bruce said, and hopefully can take you guys along for the ride. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll start off with a brief overview of what these 4 models are in case you haven't read the book. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So I'm not a professional writer, so excuse if there's spelling errors or things just don't make sense grammatically. Never been the best writer, but to start things off, the 4 fundamental models of real estate success, I wrote it out, and I'll just kind of read through them, and then we'll kind of have a little bit of a dialogue, myself and Bruce, about these. And then if anyone has questions before we jump into them more specifically. So the economic model is number 1. And this model is all about building the foundation of your business. Focus on tracking the numbers of the 8 goal categories of an MREA. By focusing and knowing the numbers you need to hit for contacts, appointments, etc., you'll have a measurable goal and a set path to track performance against. Next, focusing energy on setting these appointments around real estate will give you the greatest opportunity for an open dialogue around a potential client's needs. And finally, when you focus on the conversion of those 8 goal categories in an MREA, you'll be able to make measurable improvements to stay on track with the goal that has been set. Now, I kind of feel like, I mean, you can work on any of these as you go, but ultimately I do believe that the 1, 2, 3, 4 is the best way to really start building these out. And you're going to have to build them out basically, and then go back through like I'm doing for the 3rd, 4th, 5th time into infinity. And you're going to have to keep on going back and rebuilding these models as market shifts happen and as your business changes. So moving into model 2, which is lead generation model. Feel free to stop, Bruce.
Yeah, are we gonna stop here and talk more about the 8 categories, or are you gonna run through the brief overview and then we'll dive deep?
Correct.
Cool. Keep rolling.
Lead generation model. So this model is all about bringing life to the engine that is your economic model. Lead generation is the gas that your business takes, no exceptions, and leads will only come two ways. You must spark up the conversation around real estate and have a system in place to help others contact you to learn more about real estate. Following that, recording the contacts that you have, conversions or conversations around real estate with, and following a system on how to consistently and add more contacts for you to routinely cull the database. Basically getting to a point where you can start cutting people out of your database that you don't want to waste time or money on. In order to maintain peak performance in your engine, you're going to have to replace the oil. So lastly, you're going to want to put the pedal to the metal and start getting traction. You're going to need to follow a system on how to market to that database. Moving on to model 3 is the budget model. And this model is similar to navigating a trek across an icy river. On the journey of real estate, you must avoid falling through thin ice and letting your business get swept away by the current. So in order to navigate the terrain, we use our poking stick with lead with revenue. When we get a sale that is allowing us to move forward and progress to our business goal, if we poke the ice to see if the cracks of the thin ice, we play red light, green light. So we're going to stop, and we're not obviously going to go into the ice that starts cracking the second we poke it with the stick. Don't move forward until you have signs of a path that you'll be able to take. Assess your next step carefully. And when you get more sales, you'll be able to follow the system that brought you about that success. So in conclusion, by sticking to a budget, you prevent yourself from taking steps into thin ice and sinking your business. It will keep you taking the right actions to get you across the ice to financial freedom, which is kind of going back to, like I said, my mother got into business with that in mind, and we're still working towards that goal. So we're getting back on model to, again, make sure we're getting there as quickly as possible. Last model being the 4th one, organizational model. This model focuses on leverage, the last step of the 3 L's, which obviously, if you were here last week, we talked about this a lot. By following the systems to develop your business, the first 3 models, you will inevitably get to a ceiling of performance. This is like, if you guys have recalled the E to P, moving from E to P that we talk about. So together, everyone achieves more. And when you hire administrative help, this is the first step on leveraging your business to one that you can let run itself one day. Secondly, it does matter who you have around. So make sure you're hiring talent, and ultimately, no one will want to stay on your team unless you are pouring into them as their support system. Follow systems on how to train and consult. You'll decide what systems you're going to want to follow. Ultimately, bring in someone who can help you stay accountable, such as a mentor or a coach. So Bruce, do you think I missed anything on any of these, or that you'd like to kind of talk about before we dive in deep?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Here's what I've got to add to that, Ricky, is you guys, as we go through these models, I really want you to understand that it's a step by step. It's not just 4 models. And here's what I mean by that is you have to really understand the economic model before you can really play with your lead generation model. And then your lead generation model, you guys cannot build a budget off of nothing. So once you understand the economics of real estate, then you'll understand in the first part. I'm taking the economic model. We're going to go over the 8. We're going to go over those 8 pillars, or the 8 goal categories, if you will. You have to understand those first before you set your lead generation model. And then once you have your lead generation model set, then you build your budget around that. Once you start to understand real estate, you're going through your lead generation activities, and you're spending money where money is due, and hopefully not spending money where you can't play it. Then once you get your traction, your business going, that's the only way the 4th model comes into place. You guys, leverage comes after you understand and do it. And the other thing that we need to make sure we really wrap our minds around is that organizational model, and we talk about leverage a lot. It's last. it's really hard to fathom this, right? When you guys get started, a lot of people go straight into the organizational thing. That's okay, and it's okay to get that started. But if you start it without going through the economic model, lead generation model, and the budget model, 9 times out of 10, your organizational model that you set up from day one when you joined Keller Williams or you got into real estate is going to need to be changed. And that's where people get frustrated with their business. I set all of this up. I don't have any leads. I still have a mountain of things to do. It's just simply because you started in the wrong step, the wrong category. Your organization, when you first start, is the economic model. It's wrapping your head around what the hell is real estate. You know, Julie Sanborn and I again, you guys, if you guys go to offices, you'll have me pour into you like none other. And Julie has had the option and ability to come into the office, which allowed her the opportunity to pick my brain and go through some things. So the first things that I started doing with Julie is the economic model. One of the first conversations that we had was leads. What are the metrics? 100 to 1. I need to talk to 100 people to get to 1 lead. I need 10 leads to actually get to 1 closing. But then we have to understand also the best thing, or the biggest thing that we have to understand is just because you talk to 100 people doesn't mean you get a lead. That's an average. You got to get to like almost 1,000 to 10,000 people to really see the actual average play out. And that's the economic model. That's understanding those metrics. Okay, so I just want to set that up for everybody. When you first come into real estate, you got to you do have to organize the business. You have to start off, you have to get your website set up, you have to understand command, you got to go through the trainings. That's not the organizational model. The organizational model is the business side. Setup is setup. Okay, so we're going to walk through these models. We're going to start with the economic model. And if Ricky, if you have anything to add, Ricky, you've probably read through this economic model more than I have in the past couple of months. So if you have anything to add, let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and put into the chat the 8 goal categories. I believe it's called 8 goal category. Yeah.
Bruce, do you want me to just stop sharing and you can maybe pull them up, or do you have them somewhere? Or do you just want
make
me
me host. Yeah, make me host. I'll put it in there so everybody can grab it. But yeah, make me host. I'll share it with people.
You host now.
Thanks. Any questions so far? Good. All right. Everybody can see my screen, I think. Yes, perfect. All right. So here, this is straight out of the MREA. This is the page. You start with model number 1, economics. It goes like this. It goes around. All right. So the economic model, the 8 goal categories that we're going to talk about. You must know the numbers that you must hit. Julie, that's why we started with that. It was no secret of why I did that with you in that day. You wouldn't know it. I don't need to tell you that that's your first step. It's more of me understanding that you're brand new and that we need to understand it. All right. Second one is focus on appointments and focus on conversions. That's the basic economic model, is knowing the numbers and then obviously focusing on your appointments. When we first start, you know, Harry and I have no problem with you guys focusing on contacts, because that is the number one thing that gets you to appointments. The reason why Harry and I focus on contacts and we beat that into your head is because appointments are appointments. The only way to get to an appointment is mass amount of contacts. If we just say, hey, focus, okay, you know, most of you guys your goal is $100,000 or 12 deals in your first year or 6 deals or whatever that is. It usually equates to about, I need to set 1 appointment a week. If you focus on 1 appointment a week, you start to just, you don't understand right off the rip how to get to that. So that's why we focus on contacts to get started. And then your natural progression with your real estate business is you'll start to realize, I don't care if I have 100 contacts or 20 contacts, as long as I set my appointment, I'm good. But when you first get started, you really want to have a contact goal, in my opinion. It gets you into habits. It really helps you understand that if you can't get 10 contacts done in 1 hour, you have a lot of time management to work on. That's kind of your first economic model of numbers as well.
Even
That's
if you're manually dialing, you should
Yep.
be able to get 10 contacts in the hour.
Exactly. And this is where I tell people, you might first start off with 10 text messages within the first 10 minutes of your lead generation hour. And then do not respond to those text messages as they come back to you. You can only respond to a text message after you make one contact over the phone. Because what happens in your chest is, I need to respond to these people. I just reached out to them through text. I need to respond to them. Discipline yourself not to respond to them until you make a phone call. Make a phone call. Okay, you leave a voicemail, make another phone call. I have to leave a voicemail, make another phone call. Oh, I got a hold of Ricky. Ricky's here. I got a hold of him. I went through my pitch. I went through my spiel, whatever that is. Hang up. Boom, I got a contact. Sweet. Now let me respond to one person's text message. Respond, 2 contacts. Pick up the phone, make another call, dial again. You cannot respond to another person's text message until you make another contact. In that hour, you can get 10 done very quickly. But you see, by using our brain to trick ourselves, we naturally want to make sure we text that person. But if you just go and you start banging out phone calls, you're going to go through 4 or 5 voicemails and go, is anybody going to answer the phone today? And then you get Ricky, and then he answers the phone. You're like, sweet, I got a contact. All right, I better take a pee. Oh, I better add Ricky into the database. I better, and it's all just fluff. Lead generation is for the activity. Database entry is for after it's done. So I get a hold of Ricky. I'm on the phone with him. I'm taking notes. He just got a new puppy. Its name's Fluffy. He and his wife went out with their friends the other week to whatever. He's doing this in the summer, whatever that conversation brought up. It goes on my sticky pad, it goes on my notes, whatever that is. And then after lead gen is done, then I go into command. I enter those notes in. I set him up on his next follow-up campaign or touch plan. Or maybe he's already on a smart plan. I just validate that the smart plan is going to alert me to call him again in 4 months or 3 months, whatever it is. That's the economic model, understanding those things. Those are the questions that we want you to ask us. What did you say again? How many contacts to an appointment? What was my appointment goal again? How do I find my appointment goal? If I want to make $40,000 my first year in real estate, how many closings do I? That is what we want to walk you through when you first get started. But Harry and I also understand it's a balance. We have to help you get set up, right, with the office and that stuff, but we also have to get you into action. And so that's why we always start with numbers. We always start with who are you contacting? What are you working on? Where are you going? That's the most frustrating thing for you guys is when we get on Zoom and I say, hey, what was your action items from yesterday? And what are your action items for today? I want you to start your day with the economic model. When you plan your day, you need to start with the economic model. That's how you plan. And then we jump into the lead generation model. But before we talk about that, scroll up here, the 8 goal categories of the millionaire real estate agent. This is why it becomes a little easier for me to coach you. This is why I can find the holes in your business. This is why I can have candid and tough conversations with you when I find people not doing the right things. It's not because I'm upset with you. It's not because I want to force my agenda on you. It's because sometimes when you get into real estate, you start doing things in the way your brain thinks it works. And I can tell you there's a faster path. And everybody wants that faster path because nobody gets their license to not sell a real estate deal. Nobody gets their real estate license to just educate and learn and train. So the first thing we talk about, or the first thing you have to wrap your mind around, is leads generated. Right? That's step number 1. That's the 8 goal categories. How many leads do I need to hit my goals? Based upon that lead metric, how many appointments do I need to hit? So let me give you guys some numbers. Let me stop sharing my screen for a sec. Let me get the chat box open. All right, here's your numbers. Let me just do it with you guys in person live. Let's pretend. So let's do a goal of 10 closings for the year. And this is what Harry will go over with you when you do your 135 and your business plan. All right, goal of 10 closings for the year. Here's your metrics. We know that statistically speaking, this is nationwide statistics, 75% of all under contracts, 75% of all under contracts will close. That means 25% won't. So if you take 10 deals, and we know that we can't just put 10 people under contract and expect 100% closings, because the reality is only 7.5 of those are going to close. So that means our goal, we need to have a higher goal than 10 to that we put under contract. So if you take 10 times 1.25 equals 12.5. In the world of real estate, I don't know about Harry, but I certainly have never sold half a house. So we always round up. If that number right there was 12.1, we round to 13. 12.5, round to 13. 12.7, round to 13. So that means we need 13 clients to go under contract. All right, so that means we need 13 people to go under contract. Great, gravy. Where do those people come from? People that go under contract came from an appointment, okay? So the other national average is that 75% of all appointments results in an agency agreement.
What kind of appointment, Bruce?
Great
Like,
question.
just a coffee, a beer,
Thank you.
some wings,
Thank you. Let's talk about that. What the heck does an appointment mean? You will see some people, and this is business to business related, okay? Everybody's business might have a different definition on this. I encourage you to use this definition, because this definition is encouraged in the book and in trainings and all that. But an appointment in my world and in the MREA's world, an appointment is one in which you go through a consultation. So that's a buyer's consultation or a seller's consultation. If I call Ricky and I say, hey, Ricky, what's going on, man? And he tells me, hey, Bruce, I'm thinking about selling my house and I'm thinking about listing it in the fall. And I say, that's great, Ricky, we need to meet up. So that way you don't end up with a weak agent in a weak moment. If you're thinking about the fall, what do you think? Should I come over to your house or should we go out for coffee? Whatever that is. We set up whatever. I go over to Ricky's house. I have the appointment prepared, meaning I have the consultation. I have my packet ready to do a presentation. But I get to Ricky's house and I realize Ricky don't need to sell. He's got a lot of work to do. He's definitely not selling this house for another like 6 months. Done. I'm not doing the consultation. I'm not doing the presentation, because everything I present to him today most likely changes in 6 months because our market is volatile. Technology changes, comps change, all of that. There's no reason to go through the process. So I'm going to put a halt to that conversation and I'm going to have a friendship conversation. I'm going to build relationship. I'm going to walk the home with Ricky and I'm going to see everything he's going to be doing with the home. I'm going to it's not an appointment. Okay.
Yeah, and Bruce, so if you follow the process that you were just talking about, if you go back and think about it, the reasons we do, Bruce mentioned the 135, but after that, the reason you have a buyer and seller's presentation is you start doing these kind of contacts and you start having these kind of appointments. And if you're not up on your buyer and seller's presentation, then you're weak, and that 75% becomes a lower number. And then you're just, that time just becomes wasted, so to speak. And so that's the importance of knowing those things and doing them well so that when you get there, you're ready to go. The other thing is, so when someone says, because a lot of times we talk about in scripts, hey, I can do a CMA for you. That's not necessarily an appointment. Remember what Bruce just said. The appointment is when you're going to do a buyer or seller's presentation, not a CMA because somebody wants to see what their house is worth and you're hoping to get them in your database for a future thing, future real estate situation. So just remember that. What Bruce is talking about is, hey, I contacted Bruce and he's thinking about selling his house. I'm going over to an appointment and I'm going to do a listing presentation and I'm going to bring my listing contract with me, right? Okay.
Yep. Very good. Very good. And so if you guys have coffees or that situation that I just set up with Ricky, I consider those in my business face-to-faces. So I still count those. I still track face-to-faces because that's how the best relationships are built. I say this over and over again. We got a couple new people in here. What is a better relationship? Is it one time with somebody for 10 hours, or is it 10 different days with somebody for 1 hour at a time? So the same amount of hours spent with that person, but the better and the more solidified relationship will be the 1 hour at a time, 10 different days versus 1 10-hour swoop. And that's
what's he doing? He's building his database, right? He's building his business for future business, right? I'm doing things today that's going to impact me later and generate business for me later. And so when he talks about that 10 times, he's just building that database because at some point that one that he had for the 10th time is now going to be on in his pipeline as a number 10 and he's ready to go.
Exactly. We don't know, and I don't think it's been tracked, like the stats for like the number of average face-to-faces before the appointment. But I will tell you that it's very rare in my business to not have a face-to-face with somebody and just a call and it goes right to an appointment. Like, I think that we get excited, right? When Ricky raised, I'm going to sell my house. We're like, oh my God, I just set an appointment. I got to go do a listing consultation. Ah! That's awesome. Like, get excited because you're doing the right things. But the reality is that you probably are going to have, and this is where we I'm setting this right now for you guys with the economic model. You're going to probably have a couple face-to-faces first before there's any traction made. The traction on the face-to-faces is just relational building. And they're imperative. If I'm on the phone with Ricky and he says, I'm going to list my home next year, don't be the agent that goes, well, I don't need to meet up with Ricky. That's like a year from now. I don't want to waste my time. I've got a lot of other phone calls to make. My kids' soccer games going on, blah, 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 blah. I'll meet up with him and when he's like 6 months out, I'll go ahead and meet up with. No, they raise their hand. When somebody tells you they want to do business in real estate, they're saying, I want you to help me sell my house. Go solidify that relationship, set that appointment, or that face-to-face or that belly-to-belly. Okay. So we beat that like a dead horse. Appointments. I want to beat that like a dead horse because 75% of all appointments result in an agency agreement. If you're just going on face-to-faces, and Ricky and I, we dove into that with his business. He was nowhere close to 75% of all of his appointments going into an agency agreement. Once we started coaching and working through things, I started realizing he's counting beers with people as an appointment. A double date with his wife with a sphere of influence member as an appointment. Even though real estate was talked about, he was counting them as appointments. And so he was running at like what, 15, 20% of all of his appointments were resulting in people wanting to work with him. And so that can defeat a person if you don't know the economic model, because he's over here going, I'm supposed to convert 75% of all these appointments. Like I'm converting like 10%. What am I doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just classifying and defining appointments in a different light than what the percentage is. Okay. So if we have 13 people that we need to go under contract, and we know that 75% of appointments will get us that 13, we take 13 times 1.25. And that number comes out to be 16.25. Well, we cannot sell 0.25 of homes. We can't have 0.25 appointments. I don't know about you, but I've never had an appointment with somebody's leg. I need the whole body there. So we round up to 17. So if we go on if we have 17 appointments, we're hoping that 13 of those 17 people we meet with sign an agency agreement and start to go under contract. So 17 appointments would be the goal for this example. Now, if we have 17 appointments as our goal, how do we get to appointments? Like, what do we use? What metric do we use? Well, we need to first understand that people are people and that people don't show up all the time. This is the one that's kind of disheartening to me. This is the stat that Bruce wants to beat, but I'll tell you, it's pretty accurate. I don't do much better than this stat. No matter how good my scripts are, my skill level is, no matter how much my knowledge is. When you set an appointment, hey, Carson, what's going on, man? That sounds good. You want to buy a house? Let's do a buyer's consultation. Can you meet with me at Thursday at 6? Yeah, Thursday at 6 sounds great. I'll see you there, Bruce. Okay, sounds good. It's Thursday. It's at 6, and I'm at the coffee shop. I'm at the office at 6:05. It's 6:15. When do I call this lead? What happened? They're not even calling me. They didn't cancel. What's going on? First and foremost, confirm your appointments. If I set appointment today for tomorrow, I'm going to confirm the appointment tomorrow, probably 4 to 6 hours before the appointment. If I set the appointment today for next Tuesday, I'm going to confirm the appointment. Most likely, I'm not even going to confirm it. I'm going to send them a reminder on Friday, and then I'm going to confirm the appointment on Monday, and then I'm going to hold the appointment on Tuesday. The more that you can do, save the date, save the appointment, confirmations, the better likelihood you have of that lead at least canceling with you without no call, no showing. But the average is 50% of all appointments that you set show. So we need 17 times 2. What the heck is that? 34? Yeah, 34. So that would mean we need to set, oops, I should have put hold 17 appointments. So that means we need to set 34 appointments because
So just to clarify that, Bruce, what you're saying is I got to set 34 appointments for me to actually have 17.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So now you guys, we have our metrics. We have our weekly goals. So take 34 divided by 52. That's less than 1 a week, right? So it's January 1. My goal on my 411, my major rock, my major action item for myself this week is to set 1 appointment. That's it. That's the only goal, just to set an appointment. Now, 50% of those don't come to fruition. So Bruce probably has a goal of setting 2 and holding 1. The more your business goes, the more your numbers go up, right? So if I have 34 divided by 52, that's 0.65. So my goal each week is to set an appointment. That's it, right? Because we can't have 0.65 appointments. We need to round up. I need to set 1 appointment a week. If you have 0.5, let's say your goal is 0.5, then maybe you want to run off of a month. Meaning I want to set 2 appointments this month. But your weekly goal, your first week of that month should be, I need to set 1 appointment this month. Week 2, I need to set 1 appointment. And then if you set 2 in the first 2 weeks, then you're done with your monthly goal. Now go hold 1 of those. Do everything you can to hold 1 of those appointments. Okay. Anybody lost with numbers yet? Good.
And
If
Bruce,
you
can I just
forget,
add something?
please.
Yeah, you're on week 2 and you've already fulfilled your appointment thing and things have gone well and you've gotten the appointment and you've gotten the contract. I'd continue to call. You're on a roll, right?
Yep.
In other words, things are going well for me. Why stop now? Because there's going to be a month where you're struggling to get that 2 and you're going, wow, thank God I had a good May.
Great stance, Harry. I'm behind you guys. I am behind in my business, my contact goals, my appointments, my lead generation activities. I am friggin' behind. But I'm okay with that because I'm still doing the activities. I'm still doing the work. And I know that January, February, are oftentimes a little bit of slower months, but doesn't mean I don't stop doing the work. Doesn't mean I don't have the same goals. But now I can start to see some things popping. I've got a listing coming up next week. I've got another listing coming up the following week. And then I've got somebody that is thinking about buying and selling in the springtime. And that's all from my activities in December, January, and February. March was a little bit of a hairy one for me. So April, I'm catching up. I'm catching up because I know that if I fall too far behind, it's going to be bad news. But when I fall too far behind, I'm not talking about like the amount of closings I have. I'm not talking about falling behind there. I'm talking about falling behind on my appointments. My appointments get me to my goal. That's my ever focus. I don't care how many closings I had last month, this week, next month. Don't care. What I care about is Bruce, did you hold all of the appointments you wanted to in January? No. Did you hold all the appointments you wanted to in February? Yes. Did you make up for January in February? No. So that means March, you're still behind, right? Just because you hit your metrics in February does not mean you caught up from January. So now March, I start. Got to make up for January still. And I need to also set my appointment goals for March. I just told you it was off. My April is ever spent lead generating right now when I'm not with you guys because I'm behind and I can feel it. It stinks. But I also know that my brain and everything I do has to come from abundance. Has to come from abundance. I live a great life. I have a lot of money. I have a car that works. I have a house that has a warm shower. I have to come from abundance. I can't think about, oh my God, I'm behind. I don't have enough closings. I don't have a large pipeline. My mortgage is coming due. I mean, all of a sudden my bank account's bleeding. That is coming from scarcity. The scarcity mindset will wreck anyone. The scarcity mindset is the bane of what we do. Now, I don't care if you guys are religious in any way, shape, or form, but I am, and I'll own it every single day. The reason why I'm able to come from abundance is because I have a higher belief. I stay out of scarcity better than most because I never want to be there. Every time I get into a scarcity mindset, it's a detriment to my life and what I do. When I come from I see Carson shaking his head. I see Julie shaking her head. Whenever I'm in a scarcity mindset, this is how I come off. Hey, what's going on, Carson? Hey, man, I'm putting my business hat on today, and I'm making some phone calls, and I'm a little nervous to ask you, but I really need some commission breath. There you go. That's exactly. I really need some real estate business. I really need some leads. That's how you come off, even though you might not be saying those words. That's your demeanor. Have you ever gone to a used car sales shop and had a great experience with somebody? Or not just used car, but have you ever purchased a vehicle and had a great experience with the sales rep? And then have you ever purchased a vehicle or shopped for a vehicle and had a terrible experience with the sales rep? I bet you anything, if you look back to those two differences, the person that you had a good experience with, they asked about you. They built a relationship with you. They figured out why you needed a vehicle, and they helped you find the vehicle that hit your needs. The person that you got frustrated with, you told them what you wanted, and they still wanted to show you cars that didn't really match what it was. They wanted to show you vehicles that might have matched your criteria but weren't in your budget. They wanted you to test drive everything just to get in that vehicle and do what you wanted to do. They frustrated you because they weren't listening to you. They weren't building a relationship. They weren't allowing you to talk about yourself. I guarantee those are kind of your defining moments. Commission breath, you talk about you and your business and what you're doing and the lack of business that you're doing and how nervous you are and you're brand new and this is scary and blah, and my rent's coming due and blah. That's how you come off. It's awful and it's hard to stay away from. So whatever you can do to come from an abundance mindset will help you focus on where you need to be. It will help you stay in alignment with your appointments. and not focus on the lack of closings that you may or may not have. I don't know about you guys, but did you know that on the day of closing, a buyer and a seller has the option not to show up and close on that home? Did you know that? On the day of closing, a buyer does not have to show up to buy that house. On the day of closing, a seller does not have to show up and hand over those keys and sign those docs. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. So don't focus on those closings. Don't focus on your under contracts, because it can all fall apart. Focus on the appointments. If you follow these numbers, they don't lie. The year that I hit 51 closings, my goal was to hold 2 appointments a week. That means I was going on a selling consultation or a buying consultation twice a week, which means the week before that, I had to set 4 appointments. In December, before the year that I did 50, I needed to set 4 appointments a week in December. So that way my January started off strong. Because if I start in January and I start lead generating, that's 8% of the year. That means that throws my appointment goal off, because we based it upon 52 weeks in the year. So you got to know those appointment goals, and those are your ever end all be all focus. And that will help keep you out of scarcity. Abundance is where you want to live. All right, I hit the economic model hard. I apologize, Ricky. I get very passionate about this. Is the number one step people miss. This is the number one step that we have a hard time wrapping our heads around, because nobody gets into real estate and absolutely starts crushing lead generation right off the rip. Not very many people do that. I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen that whole time. Yeah,
well, no, it was good. Plus, I mean, everyone here, I think with a couple exceptions, is, you know, pretty new, or 2 years or newer in the business. So, and this is the most important things to be getting, you know, in that first really 3 to 6 months. By that point, you should have a good idea about the numbers that you're going to need to hit. So yeah, let's move on to the next model here, the lead generation model, right?
Hey, Ricky, do you have anything to share? Do you want hosting powers again?
No, but I'll tell you what, if anyone has their MREA book, go ahead and pull it out. That way you guys can reference it, because I'll be giving page numbers for different things that I'm talking about. So
I'm gonna go grab mine.
As it says there, or yeah, I'll give everyone a second to grab that. We'll get started here.
Nah, keep rolling, Ricky. If people are still grabbing their book, they can still listen. Just for the recording sake, I don't want to let Paul.
Understood. Okay, so lead generation model, the 3 pieces that it has listed there would be: number 1, prospect and market, set up a database and systematically market to it, and then focus on seller listings taken. So a few things on that. First off, if you go to page 135, it talks about playing the numbers game, as it were. Obviously, if we're like, well, what sort of numbers game are we talking about? Bruce just beat it to death. That's the numbers game. You want to play the economic model. As a beginner, and as we're all beginners here and we're all working to improve and be better, you need to amass leads, right? It doesn't say you need to get leads. You need to amass leads. You need to get tons of leads, as many as you can. Because ultimately at the beginning of this, your conversion rates are going to be lower. Everything on the economic model that Bruce went through, those are all average conversions. And as he's talked about, you know, you need to, you can't expect to make 100 calls and get 1 lead. You can expect to make 10,000 calls, and out of that, you're going to get approximately, you know, that like however many percent. So playing the numbers game. The next part of that would be just quality is actually in the quantity. Sometimes, and I remember thinking about this, especially in my first years, I want quality leads, or, you know, these leads are crap. You know, I'm sure everyone can like laugh in their head. I'm sure most people have had that thought once or twice, like, oh man, these leads are horrible that I'm getting from these systems that I'm paying into, or like the leads that I have gotten from these open houses, they're horrible. Like they all have agents. You know, these leads are bad. When in reality, the quality is always going to be in the quantity, right? Lots of agents are trying to focus on, well, how do I get the best quality leads that are just going to do business with me? And the answer is go get 100 more leads, and you're going to have plenty of people that actually are going to start working and want to do business with you. The answer isn't go find 5 more people that want to do business with you and they're just quality good leads. The answer is just go find 100 more, and someone is going to make sure that they're working with you. And as you do your job better, and the whole point of getting 100 is so that in the beginning you need to get tons of leads, and you need to understand that your conversions are going to be lower, but that's okay, because it's your first couple of years, you're practicing, you're learning how to get better. And the more that you do it, by the time you actually get to your second and third year, you're extremely proficient at it. And that's exactly what you need to be if you're going to eventually move into making this a business that you can step out of, which we'll get into in a little bit. Anyone have any thoughts on that or questions on that first part? Cool. So now we're going to be moving on to the basically the first line there, prospect and market. Okay. So there's 2 main points that I pulled out of this, and I'm obviously keeping these relatively basic. I ultimately just go read the book and then come back and talk to your coaches like Bruce and Harry, and they'll be able to expand on it some more and give you guys further details on them. But so why are you doing prospecting and marketing?
Let me jump in real quick. Let me add
sure.
some economic model principles to this. Just we're at a great place for this. He's saying mass amounts of leads. He's saying mass amounts of leads, mass amounts of leads. It's because 1 out of 10 leads comes to fruition. So it's good. If you guys get excited over leads, that's good, but rein that excitement in, because it doesn't mean a closing. It's a step in the right direction. But understand that when you call and Ricky says, hey, Bruce, yeah, I kind of want to buy a house in like 6 months. Yes. But also in the back of your mind, humble yourself and understand that there's a 90% chance, 90% chance Ricky doesn't buy a house with me or doesn't buy a house at all in 6 months. So get excited, but mass amounts of leads, 1 out of 10. Go ahead, Ricky.
Just a life example on that, just in like the last month, finding out that a couple of my leads, some of my best friends ever, one of them, deciding, oh, we just re-signed a lease, we're not going to be actually buying like they were planning on doing here in the next month or 2. And then the other one, he's like, oh, my uncle bought this property and he's selling it to us, off market. And our lender just so happens to have his real estate license as well. So he's going to do it for free and just charge us the lending fee. So that's the reality of like, they come in and in your head, you're thinking, man, these are some quality leads. I finally got some quality leads. They know me, they love me, they trust me. They're an advocate for me, all these things, but they're no fault of anybody. It's just sometimes things are going to happen. And that's why I wasn't relying on any of those actual deals. I'm still searching for the next deals, and you can't count it really until you're hitting those an actual like an appointment with them and a consult. And even then, you have to have that understanding of what's the percentage in your head of this is actually going to go to the next step. So back to prospecting and marketing, there's 2 big reasons for wanting to do that. And what's the difference between the 2? You can look at page 138 in your MREA book, and I'll actually go over to it. So this is one of my favorite pages of all time. I'm not sure if you can see that on the screen here. Let's see. But hopefully you guys have your own book and you guys can see this. Getting started in the business, I remember I was like, all right, I know I got to lead generate hard. What am I going to do? And I found this page, and then I was like, great, well, this is like anything and everything I could want to do, a whole list. So you just pick 3 to 5 and put them on your 135 and then just do them, right? So there's two reasons though, right? You need to generate massive amounts of leads and you need to build strong relationships. That's why you guys are going to prospect as well as market. Okay. So moving on from that, think of it similar to having diversity in your lead generation portfolio. So similar as an investor is going to have diversity in their investments, or that would be a smart thing to do. You want to have diversity in that lead gen portfolio. And ultimately, you're going to want to be able to systematize it as well. And then a good page on that you guys can look at is 139. It talks a little bit more about that idea of systematizing and diversity in it. So now we're moving on to number 2, setting up a database as well as feeding that database. So if we look at page 143 in our book, it talks a little bit about this some more. So database model consists of people that you've met and people that you have not met. And this kind of goes back to that economic model once again that Bruce was talking about. You know, you need to really be thinking about not just talking to people that you know, or not just talking to people that you don't know, right? And sometimes agents in our heads will get into like, some people will lean really far to, well, I don't want to talk to people I don't know, but I'm absolutely willing to talk to everyone that I already know. Or it's the vice versa, and they're willing to talk to people that they don't know, but God forbid they have to tell their best friend that they're in real estate. So when you don't get into that mindset, right? Ultimately, there's people that you met and haven't met, and you want to be contacting all of them to be able to get the most amount of leads. You can't limit yourself in the market, right? Just as a buyer coming into this market has to understand, and we set the expectation that this is a competitive market, right? And for us as agents, there's more agents out there than ever before in history, right? More agents than listings, so it's competitive. Meaning that we have to make sure that we are getting people from the haven't met into the met section, right? And doing this is going to bring you guys 3 types of business. And the 3 types of business are going to be new, repeat business, or referral business. Okay. And you're not going to be able to get all 3 of these unless you are actively going prospecting as well as marketing to the people that you have not met, as well as the people that you have met. So moving into the next part of the database and feeding it, the marketing approach. So when we're talking a little bit about this, well, what's marketing, right? What's marketing versus prospecting? Marketing is doing things that are going to bring people to you, and they're going to start the conversation with you, right? Prospecting is where you are actively going out and you're trying to have conversations with folks, whether that be through a call, a door knock, meeting at networking events, you know, any number of these things where you're actually pursuing a conversation. So when you're marketing to people that you have not yet met, and again, this is, you have to go to page like 144, it talks a lot more about this. But so 143 and 144 talk a lot about this. But basically, you need to make sure that you're marketing to all these people that you have not met yet, but they have to be part of a target audience. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your money, right? You don't want to just willy-nilly start throwing out random ads. You want to target it, whether that be through, you know, ad targeting if you're using social media, or whether that be through, you know, that I want to, you know, help, for instance, divorcees. Then targeting and getting lists, right? Putting a list together and then creating a system around it, like we just talked about with the prospecting and marketing. You got to get that list together, an idea of who you're going to contact, and it has to be a targeted audience, especially if you haven't met them, and then you start going at it. Ultimately, though, you're going to need prospecting, right? So I get that, let's say I get the list of people that have just recently been divorced or in the process of being divorced, okay? It's not simply enough to put an awesome marketing plan together of emails or texts and then mailers and flyers that go to the home. It's not enough to just do that. Now, that'll probably still get you leads in business, especially if you do it like a full-blown plan, a good system around it. But ultimately, we have to market and prospect. And why do we prospect? It's because it's going to help protect us from market shifts. And why is that important, right? if we do end up seeing all these interest rates go up and all of a sudden things are shifting around and moving around, we're going to have a whole, let's say, list of buyers, for instance, that do not qualify for what they wanted to, and maybe they're pulling back. And if we weren't actively going out there trying to find new buyers like I was doing, I wasn't counting on the buyers that I almost 100% certain knew I was like, they're going to buy, they're going to do it with me, it's going to happen. If I wasn't searching for more people to replace them, then when I got the calls over these last few weeks that, hey, it's not happening in this next couple months, it didn't stress me out because I have other people that I'm already bringing into that group and other people that are already coming in. And I understand that per the economic model, I'm going to have percentage of things that don't close. It just so happened to be some of my best friends, right? And that's okay. That's totally fine. It's just numbers, business. So
that's coming from abundance. That mentality right there is coming from abundance. There's plenty of business to be had. Why focus on the stuff that I couldn't get? Awesome.
Jackie, I don't know what it is, you know? I barely speak English. Okay, so the last piece on the lead gen model that it kind of outlines as a third piece would be systematically marketing to the database. And I know it kind of sounds like these things are repeating on these 3 steps, but I mean, they're breaking it down, right? And the only way for you guys to be able to bring this in, and it took me still a long time, Bruce can tell you, lots of coaching hours for me to understand these things. Harry can tell you lots of time. It needs to be broken down in these 3 sections. And yeah, they all have overlapping things, but you need to knock out these things step by step, right? One bite at a time. So systematically marketing to the database. Most agents tend to underdo it. This is on page 145, by the way, if you're following along. Systematize using 8x8s, 33 touch, and 12 direct. So if you're looking in the book, it talks about the 8x8, 33 touch, and 12 direct. This book was written obviously in the past, and as markets and times have changed, that 33 touch is closer to, statistically speaking, 42 touch or more. Okay, and what are these touches? What's this all about? So when we say most agents tend to underdo it, we've been talking on the last section about we're going to market to these haven't met people. We're going to prospect to these haven't met people. Why are we doing this? Because we want to bring all these people we haven't met into the met category. And the met category means that they're going to go into our database, right? Our command system or whatever CRM we're using. And that system is going to help us systematize how we are going to follow up and continue marketing and continue prospecting the same people that we've already met. Why is that important? Because as Bruce was talking about in the economic model, you might go to that first appointment and they said that they wanted to sell, but you realize that the timeline's going to be longer. They're not really ready, right? And the similar thing here is lots of these folks, you know them, you like them, you met them at some event, but maybe they're not ready for whatever reason. Things happen. They go in that database and you are going to, number 1, 8x8. What's this all about? And again, you can see this on page 145. That is to help you build and cement your branding as a real estate agent quickly and efficiently after meeting them as a lead. So an example, and let's put this into context. I'm at an open house. I meet some folks, they come in, they sign my sheet, yada, yada. We're having great conversation. We start looking up some properties while we're there. Oh yeah, you know, we might be wanting to sell our $1 million listing and really just purchase this next place. And oh my gosh, now it's a sell by. So exciting, right? We got this things going on. And they're like, yeah, we're looking to make this happen. Great. They leave the open house and I call them back on Monday or I call them back on Tuesday. And guess what? They don't answer. So back to the beginning of this conversation, sometimes we get in this mindset of crappy leads, right? Well, these people must not have really been well qualified. They were probably just lying to me. No, life gets busy, things happen, whatever. Your job and our job as an agent, yeah, it's contracts, yeah, it's showing property, yeah, it's advising, but our job 90% of the time is going to be meeting them at the open house and doing these open houses and spending our time and money to do that, but following up with them. And guess what? We most agents tend to underdo it because they're thinking, oh man, they're going to get annoyed by me. They're going to get this and that. Yeah, there's going to be 10% that get annoyed by you, but there's going to be 90% that text you back 2 weeks down the road after you've hit them for the 6th time on an 8x8. And they say, thank you so much for the follow-up. I've been meaning to get back to you. Here's what's going on. And I hear what's going on, right? And what I'm listening for is, can I help them? Do they need help in the next 2 to 3 months?
And not just with real estate.
And not just with real estate.
Anything.
Exactly. Anything. I'm trying to cement a relationship. That's what an 8x8 is about. I'm letting them know I'm in real estate. I'm trying to cement a relationship and find a way that I can be of value to them. So I hear that conversation, right? And let's say for this sake, they actually do need help in these next 3 to 6 months. They really do need to sell their $1 million home, and they really do need to buy this mountain property. And it's a very real thing. Last couple of weeks got crazy. Okay, great. Well, now I know where they're going to go into on my next thing, right? Am I going to put them into a system that is designed so I can keep on top of them, right? Or am I going to put them into a system where it's go time? If the case is they need to purchase and sell within the next 2 to 3 months, then that means it's appointment time. Just like Bruce was saying, it sounds like we really need to sit down and go over some things. Let's put our strategy together and get things ironed out. Do you have any idea how long it typically takes for this process to happen? And you run through those scripts that you practice in script practice, and it gets them to the point where they say, oh my God, Ricky, you're right. We do need to sit down yesterday. Let's do it. Let's please do it. So we're working all this, and that's our 8x8. And then I'm able to take them into transaction. But let's say, and 90% of the time, these leads, like I said, they're going to get pushed out, right? Things happen, yada, yada, this and that. So if they end up getting pushed down, they say, you know what, Rick, we were really just in there. We wanted to kind of check on the values. We're probably not looking at doing anything within the next couple of years. We do want to sell, but it's not something we're really doing. You understand. You'll respect that. Absolutely. Totally get it. Is there anything else around real estate I can help you out with? In or outside of real estate? Yes or no? That's totally fine. If they say no, that's great. I'd love to be a resource for you. And as things come up, feel free to reach out, give me a call. If you have anyone else has questions, obviously I'm a great resource so feel free to give them my number. Can you do that for me? Absolutely. And then they go into a 42 touch program or more. I know it says 33, but in today's market, there's so many agents. Where everyone's always staring at a phone and seeing advertisements online. You need to touch them 42 or more times in order to keep in their brain. For that day they met you at the open house, and maybe those 2 weeks that they were getting bombarded by your calls and texts and emails that they were actually appreciative of, they remembered you as an agent. But then guess what? Time goes on, more crazy life happens, and they forget about you if you're not. Again, I know that these guys are going to close within, let's say, the next year. I better be calling them every month. I don't expect to talk to them every month. I might talk to them 3 or 4 times maybe, but I'm going to call them every month so they see my name, they see it saved in their phone, and they remember, oh yeah, he's the agent that's been helping us. He's our agent, right? So that's the 33 touches for maybe actually if it's more than 2 years, right? So they're a database ad. So yeah, I want to sell, but it's going to be down the road. So maybe I'm not going to call them every month, right? I might not email them and do all that kind of stuff. I might put them on this plan. And this is where you guys just take Bruce's help, take Harry's help them show you how to put this plan together. It's basically going to consist of, you're going to want to probably do some marketing, right? So you're going to do some emails and maybe some postcards once a month, maybe to your database, your friends, your family, people that know, love, and trust you, past clients, yada, yada. You might do some DTD2 calls. So you might call them 4 times in the year. You might give them a couple text messages. It might consist of a couple in-person events and client appreciation events, so like their Easter egg hunts and your ice skating rinks. Those are 2 for free from the office that you can use, and you can market around those. And all of these things together, right? Most all of them are not about real estate. Most all of them are just, hey, by the way, I have this Easter event coming up and I wanted to invite you. And at the very bottom, it says my name, realtor, so that they remember. It's a mind battle. The last one that we talked about was the 12 direct. So 12 direct that is in reference to, this is how you're going to market to people that you have not met yet. Okay, so you have, let's say, your target audience. You want to go after divorce deals, right? So you're going to have your list that you find, and every single month, you're going to send them an email, or you're going to send them a postcard to these addresses about, hey, I'm in real estate. If anything, life changes are crazy. You know, you don't have to specifically say you got a divorce last month, you know, but life changes are crazy. Give me a call if you have any questions. And then the next month it's, hey, these listings sold in your neighborhood for this much over asking. And then the next month it goes into the next thing, and so on and so forth. But a 12 direct is 12 touches, right? Maybe once a month over the course of a year. And that's in a way that it's going to, in your target audience, maybe you haven't met them yet, and maybe you never will, but in your target audience, if you're good about your marketing, they're going to see your face, they're going to see your name sometimes, and eventually speaking, you're going to have brand recognition in the area that you are in and working, right? You want to get to that point where, I know in my head, for instance, something, an easy way to think about it is kind of like at the King Supers right next to me. I think he works in leadership at the one of the Remax agencies locally. Dennis is his name. I can't remember his last name, but he has glasses and he's on every single cart at the King Supers.
Dennis
right?
Schick.
Yeah, yeah. And freaking brand recognition, right? 2 months ago, I get a message from him on Facebook and I instantly knew, like, whether, I don't think he was trying to recruit or anything like that, but like I instantly knew who he was with, what he was all about. And that was because of that idea of 12 by 12. Now, maybe he wasn't sending me postcards and emails, but he knows if people in this area, they're probably going to go to this grocery store 2 times a week, or sorry, 2 times a week, but maybe once a week or a couple times a month. They're going to see my face and they're going to remember me. So if I ever ended up calling them, if I ever ended up emailing them, there's no weirdness about it. They already know who I am. So that's kind of getting into the weeds of systematizing. But the last thing to really focus on, and I'll let you guys read the book, would be page 149 to 150, which is focus on seller listings. All of the lead gen activities that you guys are going to be doing in the lead gen model, all the prospecting, all the marketing has to and should be focused around getting listings. And this is something that I've been, again, getting hammered into, or Bruce has been hammering into my brain recently, is anyone can get a buyer lead. You can get tons of buyer leads. I just went through my pipeline and cleaned them up. I have like 95 buyer leads. I have like some 49 seller leads, right? And I mean, realistically, I might need another 50 buyer leads before I feel like, okay, I have enough buyer leads where some of these are actually going to close here relatively soon. But the reason being is, over the last couple of years, I wasn't specific about my marketing. I was just trying to get a lead. Buy, sell, invest. Do you want to get in real estate? It didn't matter. I was just looking for leads, and it's easier to find buyer leads. So focus your time and energy on the listing leads, because the buyer leads will come naturally without
Ricky,
almost without you having to do anything.
Yeah, it's unreal, right? If you lead generate and simply ask for somebody who's looking to sell, and that person on the other end of the phone has a buyer for you, they're going to give it to you. So just every mantra is listing, 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 listing related, because the buyers will still raise their hand. They will still come out of the woodwork. They will still come from those listings.
Yeah, even if you're doing an open house and you're doing door knocking, you could be going for a listing. And from that listing, you will, just like Bruce said, you will get buyers. But if your focus is, I'm going to get listings, so when I do this, my goal is to get somebody to list their house, then you get a win-win, right? Because people who come to that open house are buyers anyway, usually. And so, yeah.
That's right. And that pretty much covers those 3 points in the lead generation model. There's obviously a lot more to it, which is, again, why I'm telling you guys, you need to take up Bruce and Harry, set up times to go through these models in more depth so you can start, just put the pieces together.
Cool. So I'm going to add a couple points of some things you guys saw me kind of doing. You guys have this link to this KW Out Front. Out Front is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful website with trainings and different things. And you can see, you can even click just on training to go to all the darn trainings that they have. But this is a lead generation one. And I want to hit on a couple things that Ricky said. So I just put in the chat two very, probably I would say out of all of the training videos that are on there, those two are very much towards the top for me. I just sent you guys two videos. It's the Sphere of Influence training videos. That's where we talk and teach you guys what the 42 touch system looks like. So Ricky said it very beautifully, but I want to kind of give you an analogy or a statistic or whatever you want to call it. But the world of marketing, this isn't just for real estate, guys. This is for psychological marketing through brains. This is what they teach when you go to marketing college, is that when a company can get in front of somebody more than 33 times a year, they have a higher likelihood of that consumer using that product or using that thing or doing that thing or whatever it is. Over time, what has happened is technology got better and better and better and better. And what that means is that all of the companies that were running on a 33 touch system or better have come into our life, right? If you guys know anything about Kohl's or Bed Bath & Beyond, them people send you an email every single day. They pretty much have like a 365 touch program, just an email, it feels like, right? So never, like Ricky said, never, ever, 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 ever put in your head that you're bombarding people. If you're putting it in your head that you're bombarding people, it's more likely than not, you're really forcing your brain to do too much real estate. Watch those Sphere of Influence videos. They'll teach you that in my 42 touch program, I hardly ever talk about real estate. Very good, Ricky, for touching on that topic. The next topic I want to touch on is Mets versus haven't Mets. Ricky's not wrong. It's unreal to Harry and I how when you guys come to us, you're either comfortable talking to the people you know, love, and trust, and not the people you don't know, or you're only comfortable talking to strangers and you don't want to talk to the people you know, love, and trust. That's okay. What that is, you guys, is where we talk about E to P. Wrapping your head around lead generation and all of that is a lot of mindset. I don't know about you guys, but if you're on the fence of I don't want to talk to my Mets, or I don't want to talk to people that I don't know, I don't care, you need to do both. Everything that you've ever done in your entire life has been uncomfortable to get started. And that's when I want to look at this E to P model. All right, Julie, can I pick on you for a sec? This is also what I've been working on with Julie, is her mindset around E to P. All right, so let's just, this isn't going to be a full-blown class. I could go into E to P all day long. This is Bruce's mantra. Every time I feel like I'm hitting a ceiling, I need to break through it. And the only way to break through a ceiling of achievement is to get uncomfortable. And here's what we're talking about. When you guys come to us and you're brand new in real estate or whatever that looks like, you have an natural ability. It's called your natural entrepreneurial style, right? We have natural drive, enthusiasm, intuition, behavior, spontaneity. This is where you guys come to us and say, oh, this sounds good. I want to follow this. I want to do that. That's your natural enthusiasm. That's your natural drive. That's your natural place. And then when you start to actually work on real estate, your natural entrepreneurial style comes out. That's what we mean by the people that that only feel comfortable talking to the people they know, love, and trust. That's just your natural state of being when you got here. But in order to become purposeful, a business owner, you're going to have to learn how to talk to people you don't know. On the flip side, the people that naturally come to us and naturally feel confident and comfortable to talk to strangers, but not people that you know, to run a good business, to be purposeful in what you're doing, you're going to have to break that ceiling. So this black line is your ceiling of achievement. So we all come in with this natural ability, and we all have this ceiling that raises above us. And here's what I watch you guys do. You hit this ceiling. And when you hit this ceiling, guess when I know you're hitting ceilings? When you look overwhelmed, when you look frustrated, when you look like you're frustrated, you're doing the right things, you're convinced to yourself that your natural ability is going to get you there. I can assure you it's not. My natural ability didn't get me there. Jenny Hart's natural ability didn't get her there. Jennifer Kelly's natural ability did not get her there. Damian Wise's natural ability does not get him there. It only helps. It's a baseline. It's a starting point. Mark my words, none of you guys, none of you, because it's like we coach 100 agents. I've been coaching for 5 years. I've been doing real estate for 8 years. I've masterminded with people in the business for 30 plus years. Nobody comes in here completely purposeful. And that's okay. We're all going to hit the ceiling of achievement. But now the ceiling of achievement is where you got to get out of your own way. So I'm going to pick on Julie for a second here, because we're walking through this and she hits this ceiling in our conversations. And that ceiling causes frustration. It causes us to have candid conversations. It causes us to break through and through everything that I ask of Julie, right? Most of our conversation is she gets pissed off. I would imagine she gets pissed off because I ask a lot of questions. Nobody likes Bruce's questions, because if you ask me a question, you're probably going to get 3 questions back to you, because most of your guys' questions is not my decision. I just want to help you do good business. Most of your guys' questions, go do it. Like, it doesn't matter. Go do it. Fail forward. I don't care. But if you ask me that question, I'm going to help you break through the season of achievement, because that question is a ceiling at that moment. And that's why through training, coaching, and consulting, you can wrap your mind around breaking that ceiling and getting to that next level. Now, what this graph doesn't show, and maybe, oh boy, earbuds are busted. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if this is in here at all. All right, I don't think it's in here, but this E to P graphic right here. Oops, crap. This E to P graphic right here. I want you to know this doesn't happen one time. This ceiling line, you're going to break through your first line, and then the next line is going to create over your head, and you're going to have to break through that. And that's why I say you better start the faster you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, the faster you're going to break through these barriers, the faster you're going to see success and achievement, the faster you're going to understand these models and wrap your head around it. But you won't be able to do that until you have these roadblocks. All right. So if you watch this, you come in with your natural ability. This line is big and fast and high because everybody comes in with such enthusiasm, and then bam, they get to this place where they get disappointed. Disappointment sets in. I'm doing everything. I'm that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it. I got this, but I'm setting up, and I don't know where I'm going, and it's not working. Disappointment, and then resignation. This is where you start to get into resignation. Is where we talk about where people get into the scarcity mindset. I'm doing the right things. I know I am, but it's not working. So I don't know what else to do. Like, this is just tough. Like, no one's helping me. There's no resources for me. I'm doing everything that they're telling me, but none of it's working. Well, if you get to that place, you miss the coaching, training, and consulting part. By the time you're checked out is the worst time for you to come and ask questions. It's the worst time for anybody to want to receive information, right? If you think about it, when you guys were kids, you get frustrated with your parents because they wanted you to do something or gave you a curfew or whatever that is. As soon as frustration sets in, you stop listening to them. This is where it makes our job very, very hard. I know when people shut down on me, and that's when you get really brash, Bruce. I will come at you because I don't want you to fall here. I will beat you over the head in this category, because I know that I'm either going to get you back on the fence of, hey, you're not doing the right things. You're telling yourself you are, but if I were to ask anybody that calls me and gets frustrated to 100% sit down with me and show me that you have every single person in your phone in your command, and you have every single person in command on a touch program, you won't be able to do it. You just won't. Because anybody that has everybody in their database on a touch system, they're working the touch system. They don't have time to complain. They don't have time to feel like it's not working, because they have to work the system. So when I get those calls, unfortunately, you guys, I've been doing this long enough, I know where the conversation's headed. And with Julie, I've never seen Julie get here. She's only ever really gotten to maybe the D on disappointment. She gets here, and then bam, she has a conversation with me. She does it right. She wants to learn. She wants to advance. She wants to coach. She wants to train. She wants to mentor. She wants to know why I'm telling her what I tell her. That's what I love about her. She she questions what my methods are. Question them. I've got reasons, because they're not really my methods. I'm literally just copying what was taught to me that works. And it works. And it works every day, all day, every day. Thank you, Julie, for letting me use you as an example. Thank you for coaching and being vulnerable. Thank you for wanting to go through and bust through ceilings of achievement. Now, I'm using you as an example. I've done it with Ricky. I'm doing it with Ken right now. I've worked with Ed. Like, you guys are all in here, okay? I'm not just singling Julie out because she's my favorite. And I don't have favorites. My favorites are the people that I start to see success and they would just want to go have a beer with me. But they're not even my favorites. That's just because we're all doing it. There are no favorites. I don't want to see people fail. You guys will not be the 80% that fail. Not with me and not with Harry. You won't be those people unless you choose to be. That's the only way.
That's right. And you know, Bruce, it's interesting because if you think about it, every single person that gets into real estate from the beginning has that entrepreneur attitude, right? That's why they got into it. The problem is sometimes it just seems too easy, right? When we say be purposeful, do these things and you'll get there. It just seems too easy for them. It's like, well, wait a minute, that just seems too easy. When in reality, that's really what it's about. And as you develop, all Bruce is trying to tell you is let's create systems and models to get you to that point, right? And to do that is a very purposeful scenario. But we get, it's just not that excitement that you see when you get that first deal and do all those other things. And so sometimes you think we're probably nuts when we say, well, just go do this and we'll just go do that. And you're like, seriously, come on, right? I mean, I know you can hear it in their voices, but it's really, it's like Bruce said, you figure it out from the beginning. And I don't care what business is in. Most businesses are the same way. You get a new job and boy, you're all go to a training, you come back gung ho, and then reality sets in and you got to go back to, okay, I got to be purposeful about some things that I'm doing so that I can be successful at my business. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. Ricky, when did you get your license?
June 2020.
2020. When did you start doing real estate?
October 2021.
You guys see that? I got my license August 1st of 2014. I started doing real estate May of 2015. Because I'll never forget when I had that epiphany. I did the same thing you guys all do. I challenged my coach. I questioned. I said, but this, that. They said, saying, look, that's fine. Do it. You're wasting your time, and I know why. You can't see it yet. That's okay. I'm trying to tell you not to. Just there. And then July, I don't know why. I just had a pivotal light bulb. It just went off. Carson Guyman, I'm going to pick on him for just a second. He got his license and started real estate. Very quickly. Like he got his license and started real estate like month 1, month 2. It didn't take him long to have the light bulbs.
Seriously.
That it took me 9 months. Took Ricky a year. Like, it takes a while. You have these light bulb moments of like, all right, you know what? I got to quit challenging everybody around me. I got to start. Maybe I need to just start doing what is presented. And then I started doing it, but frick, 37 closings. I'm like, oh, Bruce, you're an idiot. Like, you had 9 months to do that and you didn't, and you could have had a lot more money. So it's very frustrating, but I'm glad I got to that pivotal point where I wasn't the 80%. And that's what we're going to walk you guys through. Ricky, great job on that model. Are we ready to jump into the budget model?
Yeah, let's knock it out.
All right, cool. So the budget model is going to be a separate class. Harry Davis is our budget guy. He's our business person. He knows this model inside and out. But for the sake of this video, time, everything like that, I'm going to tell you guys the budget model is a full different class. So we're going to get Harry on the schedule to do a budget 101. But for this section, this portion, you need to know some basics. You got to wrap yourself around these basics, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty with Harry sometime. So remember these numbers. Let me just type it in here. 30, 30, 40. Ricky, what the heck does 30, 30, 40 mean?
30% cost of sales, 30% expenses, 40% profit, or yeah.
So what you mean to tell me is that if I get a $10,000 commission check, I need to set aside $3,000 and go figure out where to spend it on my business? That's a lot of money, dude. And what's your response back to a coaching client that approaches that? Do you have one?
I'd say that's a lot of leverage. Sounds like to me.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, $3,000. It does seem like a lot of money. But let me ask you this. Are you in this for quick sales and quick money? Are you in this for a career and to build your business?
Well, I'd
Most
like to build a
everybody,
business, Bruce.
yeah, most everybody's going to say build your business. If you want to build your business, you better be spending money on your business when you get money. This is 30, 30, 40 from your checks that come. This is not 30, 30, 40 when you have no money coming in. So whenever you guys see an agent do something lead generation wise, where you're like, I want to do that, but I don't have the money, or should I spend the money on it? My answer is going to be no. All right. If we're going to be talking about the golden letters in our next team meeting. And the golden letters, you're going to find out that a lot of agents that have the capital, they spend the money on paying for somebody to lick, stamp, and ship these letters. So the golden letter is a letter that basically is a lead generation letter. We'll get into it in a different time. But they pay people to go buy envelopes, go trifold these papers, stuff them in. They buy glossy paper, they put pictures on. They do all of these robust things. And all of you guys are going to go, I got to do that. No, you can do a golden letter on a black, and you can print in black and white. You can pay. So if you guys go to like anywhere and you guys go and you guys see reams of copy paper, when you're on a budget, get a different color. I like yellow. Pastel yellow is my favorite because it looks like a city notice. So I get a pastel yellow and I pay maybe $1 more for that ream than white. And I print for 5-cent copies, black and white. And so now I've got flyers that I printed for about 7 cents. 7 cents a flyer. Now, if you're really on a budget and 7 cents a flyer is still something that is there, when you go door knocking, because you don't have the money to mail it, don't mail it. You don't have to mail it. I squeak when I walk. I'm so tight, it's unreal. Every waking penny of my business goes to my investments. I never spend money on my business. I hate spending money on my business. I'd rather get better with my words and be the best with my words because they're free than I do spend money on my business. But 7 cents a flyer, and then door knock. And if you don't want to waste your flyers, then only give them to the people that answer the door. I mean, 90% of all flyers are going to get thrown away, but there is that 10% chance that a flyer is going to have somebody call you. That's your business decision. Do it. I don't care. But for me, if I'm on a budget and I just printed flyers at 7 cents a copy, and I said, okay, instead of doing 500 flyers for the whole neighborhood, I'm gonna, okay, 500, 20%. I need to talk to 100 people in that neighborhood. So I'm gonna print 100 flyers. I'm gonna door knock every 500 homes. I'm only gonna hand them the flyer that the people that talk to me. That's okay. That's a great way to get started for very, very cheap. And I'll tell you that flyers don't sell. You do, right? The best relationships are what? Face to face, belly to belly. The second best relationship out there is somebody in which you have a phone call and text message with. The worst relationship out there is text and email only, right? Think about it. If you were with your spouse and you only text and emailed them, they'd probably get frustrated with you over time because you're not going on date nights, you're not seeing them, right? If you're in a new relationship and you're maybe live a distance away and you have the availability to talk to them on the phone, but you will decide that you only want to text and email them, that relationship isn't going to go anywhere anytime fast. So flyers, door to door, face to face, you can do it for 7 cents, and it's effective, super effective. So what I'm getting at you guys with this budget model is anytime you see somebody that's doing something that you're like, I don't have the money for, call Harry and I've got a way around it.
Yeah,
and sometimes
can
I don't even have, go ahead.
No, this fits into the other models, right? So Bruce, I just got done with a person 2 days ago who's a seasoned agent, 4 years, makes good money, had some questions on it. And here's my question to Bruce. Now you know why we ask you to know your numbers. Hey, Bruce, let me ask you, if you called 200 people, how long is it going to take you to put out those golden letters? Oh, if I did it myself, 5 hours. Okay, so we know how many contacts you can make in 5 hours, and we know how many appointments you get on your contacts. What if you hired somebody to do that? Because by you calling people and getting that contact and that appointment, that's going to generate $10,000, and you spent $250 to get somebody to do it. Is that worth your money? And that's how you grow your business. That's how you get smart at your business. That's why it's so important that these models, that you have your numbers, because then you can make those really, you can make you can make a very knowledgeable decision based on the information you have, right? But Bruce is absolutely right. If I was talking to Julie today, I'd say, Julie, print 100 of them and make sure you hand them out to 100 people you're going to talk to. And so you might say, well, gee, that seems like it's going to take a lot of time. Yeah, but it didn't cost you any money. It just cost you time. Right now, time is money for you, and you got to balance that, right? But if it's a seasoned agent like Bruce, I'm going to go, Bruce, let's think about what we could do for you that we could generate more money and get both things done, because he's going to leverage that, right? But that's to come. And so that's why you see all those other models. That's why Bruce was just talking about know your numbers, because as you get more into this business, you're going to be able to sit there and make good, sound decisions based on data that you have, because most businesses make decisions based on the data they have, right? I mean, at the end of the day. And so that's what you're trying to do.
Nail on the head. Thank you, Harry. Exactly. All right. So yes, the answer is yes. Once you get your first $10,000 check, you need $3,000. You don't need to go spend it right then and there, but you need to set it aside. You need to allocate it for that moment where you take a training and you go, that is absolutely something I think I want to do. Call Bruce, call Harry. Let's see if that's the right thing to spend my money on. Please don't spend money too quick and too much because of shiny penny. There are very, very good salespeople in our world that will call you, put on classes, email you. They're very skilled and they're very good. And it's a business and it's a way for them to make money. But if that business isn't going to complement your business to then they make money and you make money, it's the wrong choice. Okay. So 30, 30, 40. I like what Ken said. So this is the way I run the 30, 30, 40. Mine kind of is 25% off the top, and then I do 30, 30, 40. So let's say I get a $12,500 commission check. I have a business savings account. You guys can go to banks and you guys can set up free checking and savings accounts pretty much all day long. I have a savings account that I put 25% of my taxes into. So then I'm left with basically then a $10,000 commission, right? So it's a $12,500 commission check, but I really, somebody say something. Cool. I really only going to actualize 10 grand. So then from 10 grand, I need to look at the 30, 30, 40 principle. I need to pay myself 30%. So 30% just goes into my everyday personal checking account. That's where 30% goes. I pay my mortgage with it, my car, my insurance, the food, groceries, all of that. $4,000 of that is going to be put into, in my world, I have a savings account where my profit goes and I don't want to see it. Because if I see my profit, then I start to get a little relaxed. I talked to Carson about this the other day. If I see profit build in my accounts, I start to feel lazy. Like, oh man, I got like 20K in there. Like that's enough for me to live off of for the next 3 months. Like I'm good. Like I don't need to make 20 contacts today. I got a bank. No, Bruce wants to retire at 35. And that means every waking profit penny that I have, I'm going to try to stay within my budget so I don't have to spend my profit. I'm going to try and live off of 30% in my day-to-day. And then every now and then, every quarter or something like that, I might look at my profit. And if I got enough profit in there to go buy an investment property, gone. I don't want profit. I don't want it in there because it makes me lazy. This is what happens to you guys, or this is what happens to people. They get a $12,500 commission check. They set aside 25% in taxes, and they go, holy crap, man, I got 10 grand. Like, hell yeah, this is sweet. I got plenty of breathing room now. You only have $333 of that to use, really, or 3 grand to use. Sorry, I almost went into 33%. You only have 3 grand to use of that check in my world, in the books world. If you want long business, longevity, right? We're not in this to make quick cash. We're in this to create a business and a career. If you are that person that brings home a $10,000 commission check and says, nice job, dude, that's why you're doing this. You're doing this to build a business. 40% in profit.
See, Bruce said
30% you live off.
Yeah, and Bruce said, I'm taking a salary of 30%, right? So that's what he's designated his salary to be. So every month or every closing, he's going to get a salary of that. And his goal, if you're a decent agent, is I got to have one a month because I need $3,000 for all my bills. And you can figure out what that's going to be before you, it might be that Bruce has to do 1.5 sales per month based on his needs on his personal level, because he still wants to have his profit margin. He doesn't want to get into his profit. He wants to keep that for future, right? And so that's a smart way to do his business. And I got to tell you, Bruce is, when he said it, I was laughing because I could tell you a person who used to tell me, oh man, I got $13,000 in the bank. I'm not going to work next month. And I said, well, what happens when that money runs out? You're a month behind. So how about if we just at least do 2 weeks, right? So I got this person to agree to work for the 2 weeks and then take 2 weeks. So at least we knew she had some business later. But yeah, you can get complacent when you see that money sitting there and you go, well, I don't need to do anything. I got 15 grand. You know how fast that 15 grand will go? And then all of a sudden you're sitting there going, uh-oh, now I'm behind. And what was the smartest thing Bruce said when he started that conversation about his budget? The first thing he did was take 25% for taxes. I've had people come in when I was team leader over in Loveland. I had people come to my office and go, oh, I'm in deep trouble. I didn't pay my taxes. And I'm like, holy mackerel, you had like 15 deals. You know how much money that's going to be that you're going to have to pay in taxes? Which means now you're playing catch up, right? And so Bruce's $3,000, $4,000 that he wanted to put in profit, gone. He's got to make up a ton of money. And so he doesn't get to have that profit because he wasn't smart about how he did his business when he started. And so very excellent point. And Bruce already figured out he needed 25%. It might be 30, he makes so much money. It might be 35. Figure it out. Know your tax base, because that's the first thing that comes off. That's not your money, right? Because if you were working for a company, you wouldn't get that money. So don't think it's yours. It's not. And you just be smart about it, and your life will be, that stress of taxes that sits right here every day will be gone, because Bruce has got an account in there for his taxes. Smart move.
I don't know if you guys know, but most banks, I don't really know of any banks that don't do this, but when you have a mobile app or your online dashboard, you can tell your bank what accounts you want to hide from your face. So my tax account and my profit account are hidden. I can't see that number when I get on my mobile app, and I can't see that number when I get on my desktop. I have to manually figure out how to get in there to see the balance of that account. It helps me. It's there. Now, the last piece that we're going to touch on. Oh, here, you got something?
I was just going to say, budget book. This is my budget checkbook. I only look at it once a quarter.
Yep.
Every quarter, at the end of the quarter, I look at this to see where I'm at. That way I know, if you were to ask me today, I have no idea how much is in this business account. I will in the end of June.
The reason why I tell all of you guys to, a lot of people challenge the profit side, right? Save 40% in profit. We're like, well, if that's profit, that's my business. Like, I'm going to use it anyways. Why don't I just use it today? Because that's not a good business owner. Because here's what happens is you have that $3,000 set aside for your business, right? The 30% that goes back to your business. And then all of a sudden October hits, and you also now want to send out a golden letter mailer, and your Iris bill comes due, and now you got to pay your office bill. I'm making up some things, but all of a sudden, one fell chunk, that 3 grand is gone. But the next month, your touch program says, I'm doing a pumpkin carving contest for my database, and I just used my $3,000 I had for a budget for my business. I didn't sell a house this month because I got a couple coming, but now I need to spend some money on my pumpkin carving contest. Here's what I watch people do. Oh, I'll do the pumpkin carving contest, but we got to cut this cost. We got to cut this. We got to cut that because I already spent my money. No, dip into your profits. It's okay, because here's where you can replenish. If your business is rolling right and you dip into your profits to then spend money on the pumpkin carving contest, if you're lead generating methodically, you'll start to see, well, I'll make that profit back up in November and December. And if you don't, then your profit just went down a little bit. But if you do, then put it back and use it and stay in alignment. And then at the end of the year, then take the profit. But the profit is set aside because it's your emergency. It's your backup fund. It's the months that you spend more on your budget than you should have or wanted, or not should have, but wanted to, but needed to. You never want to pull back from your plan in your business. If you budget and you had a plan for it and your business is on track, you need to spend it on those activities. Our people need to be poured into. I can't stand spending $2,000 on one night a year for my A+ people. I can't stand it, but I do it. A big party bus, dinner, and we go to the Eagles hockey game, and it's a lot of money, and I get no business out of that day. It's a lot of money. But over the years, my people appreciate it and they refer me business. So it does pay for it in a way, but at that moment, that's a $2,000 check I don't like to cut. Go ahead.
And two things that I want to mention on budget, and we can get into it in Budget 101, is in Bruce's expenses, I would tell him, I want you to start saving some money because you're going to need to have 2 months worth of money in case something happens. Oh my God, he got COVID and he couldn't work for a month, right? So he doesn't want to have that pressure of, oh, I don't have any money. So we build that in. You want to build that into your budget thing. The other thing, I can remember this, when I met Bruce, my first question was, when do you want to retire? Right? I wanted to know from Bruce when he wanted to retire, because he's going to build some of his business around that, right? I mean, I was 40 years old and finally decided, God, I want to retire at 60 and I want to live the way I live now. How do I do that? And so that was my plan, right? And so I built my whole budget and my whole expenses and everything I did based on retiring at 60 and having the money that I want to have. And Bruce already said he wants to retire at 35 and do other things, right? So that's sort of built into his profit thing and what he needs to do with that so he can do that. That's another thing I'd tell you. You're in real estate. When do you want to retire? Do you want to do this when you're 70? And if you do, great. But if you don't, what year do you want to do that? And then how do you build that into everything you're doing? Anyway, another 101 can handle some of that.
Perfect. All right, we're going to drop the budget model. We'll put together a class. There's kind of your base overview. Ricky is going to dive into the organizational model, or I don't really care. But we're not going to spend too much time on that. I don't think anybody in this group is at the organizational model phase to where we can hire talent. We start training and consulting. I would say out of everybody in here, Ricky is the one, because he's training and he's doing this class for you guys today. But let's jump into it so you guys get a brief overview of kind of like, once you figure out the economic model, once you get your lead generation systems and tactics in alignment, your business starts to close some deals. Now you have some money for the budget. That's a good base for today's class, but let's go over in a high level that organizational model, Ricky.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the perfect way to look at it is if you guys just scroll up on the chat bar in this video, right back to the 8 goal categories of MREA. The first 4, so the first half of them are basically economic model and lead gen model. Okay. Then you got one of them that's really going into the budget model, which is money. And then you got people, systems, tools, and personal education. And those are all going to go into your organizational model. So that being said, the organizational model, if we go to page 160, and I'm just going to touch on this very briefly because I want maybe a few more minutes for some questions or some dialogue at the end. But basically speaking, MREA lays out models for how you're going to grow your business from you being a solo agent into eventually hiring some administrative help and then getting into a team. You have buyers agents and sellers agents, and to the point where you're you're the CEO, and then all of a sudden you're the owner of the company and you have a CEO underneath you. That'd be great. So you're free. So when doing all you can on page 160, hire help. hire a person with skills that can document and implement the systems that you put in place. So this whole entire first hour and a half, we were pretty much just talking about what are the systems of the economic model, the numbers you need to hit, and then what are the systems of lead generation? How are you going to hit those people, and how are you going to follow up with those people to get business, right? So once you get to the point where you're doing so much lead gen activities and you're getting so many leads that you just cannot possibly follow up with all these leads yourself, that's when you need to go and start hiring out help, right? And getting your very first hire correct, hiring talent. This is page 161. That's incredibly important, right? And there's an entire list on page 161 about why it is so important for you to hire talent, right? And it just like lists them all out there for you. But generally speaking, once again, you're not going to need to get into the organizational model as a solo agent, really until the point where you just have so much business that you just can't handle all of it. So when you reach that point, it's a good time to start talking with, you know, Harry and Bruce a little bit more about, you know, well, what's my next step? How do I stay in the model of growing this business, to, you know, add more people on, with whether it be administrative help, seller or buyers, agents, marketing and administrative consulting, whatever it is. But that's incredibly important. So that being said, we've covered the 4 fundamental real estate models of MREA. What sort of questions or thought-provoking thoughts have people had? Anyone want to share?
Ricky, that's a good sign. I think you did a fantastic job. You articulated well.